All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number one. That is right, week number one of your 9443 class, which is your academic libraries class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin, and what we're going to do this week, this is our first check-in video, and the first check-in video for this class is always a large course overview. Okay, so what we are going to do this week is do a course overview so that you are familiar with what is going to be expected of you within this class. This is going to be a long one, and I am also a slow talker, so what I'm about to do is teach you how to speed up a YouTube video if you don't already know. You are going to want to speed up the YouTube videos, the check-in videos that I do. They're going to be optional. I want that to be clear first of all, but if you do elect to watch them, I want you to be able to speed them up, know how to speed them up. Usually if you speed me up to 1.5 speed, because I speak so slowly, you will still catch everything that I say, okay? So with that said, we're going to, first I'm going to again teach you how to speed up a YouTube video, and then after I do that, we are going to do the course overview. We're going to start off with talking about the announcements that are already in the class, and then we'll do syllabus, then we'll talk about modules and assignments, and then I'll teach you a little bit about me. After each of these sections, I'm going to say, okay, if you want to take a break right now, this is the time to do it. And that way, because this is going to be a long check-in video, it's going to be over an hour long, folks. They won't all be over an hour long, I promise, but the course overview check-in videos tend to be rather lengthy. All right, so let's go ahead and pop into it. There's not much time to waste. Ooh, let's not put... All right, sorry about that. I did not mean to open my Gmail inbox in front of you all like that. That was pretty embarrassing. Here, this is what I'm actually trying to do is teach you all again how to speed up a YouTube video. So we're gonna hit a little bit of Jelly Roll here. That's one of my favorite artists. I can talk about Jelly Roll all day, but y'all ain't here for that. So I'm going to show you how to speed up this YouTube video, and from here on out, again, I suggest first of all going ahead and speeding this one up, and then from here on out, you know, again, you will probably understand everything I say, even if you speed it up to 1.5 and maybe even faster, and that will make the videos more bearable for you, so you don't just feel like you're just sitting there listening to me talk slow. Instead, you know, you speed it up and you get the information, and then you go on with your day. Once students started speeding these videos up, they were really more likely to watch them and therefore get some things out of them. All right, so if you want to speed one up, alright, so you can have so you can do is come here, and what you do is you come to this icon, you go to playback speed, and then you can go to 1.5, and now you see it's much faster. And then, so there you go, and that's exactly how you speed a YouTube video up. And again, I recommend that you speed me up to 1.5 or faster, okay? Go ahead and speed me up now, and then we will get into other things related to the course. All right, folks, so yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome to Academic Libraries. Let's go ahead and look at this welcome announcement first, and we're going to look at the fall guest speaker schedule really quickly, and then we're going to get into the syllabus. So first, welcome to Academic Libraries. Again, my name is Dr. Jace, or you can call me Jason, or you can call me Jace, or you can call me Dr. Austin, whatever the case may be, it is all good. I will be your instructor for this Academic Libraries class. A few things I want you all to know before we get started. First of all, yeah, go ahead and introduce yourselves. I do want you to try to make at least one new friend in this class. I know that's not going to happen for everybody, but one thing that I want to let you know is that networking is very important within libraries. A lot of times librarians are trying to hire people that they are comfortable with, and that includes familiarity. If they already know you, then that gives you a leg up. I was able to network very easily in my program when I was in library school from 2006 to 2008 at North Carolina Central University. But the reason I was able to do that was because that was an in-person program at the time. it is very hard to network the same way online, but it can be done, especially with the Discord that I understand the students have going on and that sort of thing. Okay. So having said that, yes, try to network as you take this class. If you see somebody and you're reading what they say in the discussion board prompts, and if you're vibing with the things that they say, how about you go ahead and reach out, extend a hand, make a friend, and that sort of thing. Okay. Because it's the name of the game. Again, I graduated from library school in 2008, and yet I am still in contact with people that I went to library school with now almost 20 years ago. All right. Other things that I want you all to be aware of, the check-in videos. Let me go ahead and explain this right now. Usually I will have the check-in video up by Wednesday morning. This time around it's going to be Thursday morning. There was just a lot going on that I had to just kind of contend with, but things are kind of leveling out right now, and so I'm able to record my check-in video. It'll be up Thursday morning, and you can watch it whenever at your leisure. I want you to know why I do the check-in videos. These check-in videos are optional. They're going to be optional, and they're basically two types of students that research has shown. There are students who just want to get in the class and pass it so that they can go ahead and earn the degree and have the degree get them the job that they want. But then there are other students who actually want to have an ongoing dialogue with the professor who, they realize that somebody who is teaching in the field is somebody who likely has worked and researched in the field, and I've done all of that for a very long time. And so if you want to kind of have an ongoing discussion with the professor, or online dialogue, if you want to just get little bits of tidbits and things like that from me personally, then these check-in videos are more so geared for you. Okay. Now, the check-in videos will not give you much of an advantage in the class. And I say that to say that if you decide that it's not your thing to watch these, that is perfectly fine. It is perfectly fine. You do not have to watch these. You don't. And you can still get an A+ in this class without watching them. But if you do watch one, it should be this one, since it's the course overview. But there are little tidbits of information in my check-in videos that you might actually benefit from hearing. Okay. So the check-in videos will usually be up by Wednesday morning, and again, go ahead and speed them up, and I will do them most weeks, but I will definitely not do check-in videos on weeks where we have synced sessions on Tuesday. And the reason for that is because that's just too much Dr. Jace. You don't want to watch a video of me and have a required 90 minutes with me in the class. Okay. So I don't do the check-in videos on weeks where we have synced sessions. All right. So yeah, but I do hope that at least some of you will watch, and I think that those of you who do watch will get something beneficial out of them. Yeah, if you see module links that don't work, just bring that to my attention. That happens. If you have questions, message or email me. Usually I'll get back to you within 72 hours. I'll try to do better than that, though. I'll try to be as quick as possible. And then if there are errors or inconsistencies in the course, like for instance, if a assignment says, if the syllabus says an assignment is due on one date and then Canvas is actually saying it's due on a different date, if you see inconsistencies or errors like that, just bring them to my attention. There are always errors in the class. When people bring them to my attention, I fix them, and I thank those people because that prevents the class from getting too difficult or confusing. Okay. The second announcement, I do want to tell you all who's going to be coming to visit us this semester. So here is our guest speaker schedule along with a note. So we will have all three of our sync sessions are going to be on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Adjust for your time zone. Not knowing when we start is not an excuse to no show if you are not in Central Time, and I know that not all of you are. So this is going to be our guest speaker schedule and the things that we're going to talk about. On September the 16th, we will have our community college librarianship panel with Mike Crumpton from UNC Greensboro, Brady Cross from Tri-County Technical College in South Carolina, and Sabrina Dick from Lawson State Community College in Alabama. And they will talk about the pros and cons of community college librarianship, which is an under-considered academic librarianship opportunity. Let me say without hesitation that my favorite job ever was my community college librarianship job that I had while I was working on my PhD. It's a nice blend of both public and academic librarianship, in my opinion, and it's not the heavy-duty academic librarianship, and so I was able to be very successful in that. And so it's something that I want you all to consider as well. On October the 14th, Julia Pluta from Cornell University Law School will discuss academic law librarianship and what to do if you're interested in going that route. That becomes easier if you have a JD, but not all academic law librarians have a JD. And in fact, Julia she'll be able to tell you about opportunities that you can have as an academic law librarian without having a JD, as well as having one, which Julia does have one. All right, and then there is a note with this. The topic is to be determined, but it will probably be focused on makerspaces. But on November the 11th, Jennifer Hughes and Joseph Taylor of Coastal Carolina University will present to us, but there is a special note associated with this. So I had actually secured Jennifer and Joe to come talk to us back in May. Sometime after May, I think in July, the university announced that November the 11th was going to be recognized as a holiday. It originally was not, but now we are recognizing it as Veterans Day. So that is now a holiday and a day off. I cannot require you to attend a class on a holiday, but we are still going to go forward with the November 11th class. I would like for you all to attend, but here's what's going to happen. I could not reschedule this. Y'all may not like this, but here's the compromise. We will move forward with having the sync session on Veterans Day. So that Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. You can still sleep in because it's a nighttime thing. But I strongly prefer you all attend the sync session and listen to Joe and Jennifer live so that they will feel that they have an audience. However, if you decide to take the holiday, this will be the one time where I record a presentation. But with me recording this presentation, what's going to happen with that is if you decide that instead of showing up to the sync session, if you decide that you're just going to watch it later, what you're going to have to do is write and submit a reflective essay before you get the points. And I know that seems unfair, but I am allowed to do that. And this is hopefully going to incentivize you all to just go ahead and come into the sync session and just listen to Jennifer and Joe. And Joe is, by the way, Joe is a Mizzou alumni. He's an alumni from this program. I was working with him while he was going through the program. He was going through it remotely while working at Coastal Carolina University. He's my former coworker. And you're going to enjoy Joe. Joe has one of the best personalities ever. You're going to enjoy him. He is perfect for makerspace librarianship, and which is what he does. And if you have questions about makerspaces and academic libraries, he is one to direct those to. All right, please, please, please. Again, I know that I'm asking you to be here on a holiday, but please just come that night so that you can meet them, interact with them if you want to, and interact with your fellow students. Okay, I do think that that's better than accessing the recording later. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the syllabus. All right, academic libraries, baby. Let me put myself up here. We have 3 sync sessions, as I was just saying, September 16th, October 14th, and November 11th. And I will distribute those Zoom links prior to those sync sessions, but I'm not going to do those quite yet. What? Oh, oops. Okay. Let's, can I pull, no, I can't pull that down. Okay. Well, I'll just do this then. Scroll back up there. And oh, this is ridiculous. Okay, sorry, my recording software is kind of interrupting here, so I'm going to have to be a little awkward. All right, so course description. This course examines the culture, operations, and environment of academic libraries in the context of institutions of higher education and revolutionary changes in communication, media, and technology. The emphasis is on communities, cultures, and systems of scholarship, and on how college and university libraries contribute to the academic teaching and research missions. Topics will include those things. I'm not going to read those things out because you'll see those in the modules anyway. But basically, this academic libraries class is going to be a little different from other classes you may have taken with me, because with other classes you may have taken with me, I am actually assessing some of your abilities. If you're in reference with me or in business librarianship with me, if you've taken those classes with me, then I assess your ability to access databases and provide reference or business reference services. Intellectual freedom, I am testing your competencies related to advocacy. And in the cultural heritage class that I teach, I am sort of looking at your competencies related to cultural intelligence and understanding. But having said that, with the academic libraries class, really all you can do with a class like this is this class is more so informative. I'm not really gauging your ability to work in an academic library because there's so many roles that you can take in an academic library. So this class is mostly informative to let you know about academic librarianship, what it entails, and those sorts of things, okay? So let's scroll on down. There are student learning outcomes associated with this class. Student learning outcome number 1, graduates will apply the core principles, ethics, values, and body of knowledge to questions in library and information science according to their area of specialty. And then student learning outcome number 2, graduates will apply management principles and interdisciplinary best practices in library and education, library and information agency environments, okay? So what I'll say to that is you're going to have to do an e-portfolio in your final semester here, or your final spring or fall. And so when you do the e-portfolio, you are going to have to turn in assignments that correspond with the various student learning outcomes that we list. All right. And so if let's say that your case study paper that you do for this class, let's say that corresponds with student learning outcome number 2, which it does, then that paper could be one of the papers that you turn in relation to student learning outcome number 2. Okay, so that's how that works, and that's why we have the student learning outcomes that are applicable there. Evaluation. This is the point breakdown. Okay, you can get 100 points total. 30 points are going to come from the discussion boards, and what I mean by that is you have 15 graded prompts. The introduction prompt is not graded, but you have 15 graded discussion board prompts in this class, and for each prompt you will get 1 point for your original post and 1 point for responding to a classmate. So that should be two things that you're posting per prompt for 15 prompts, and that will equal 30 points, if that makes sense. Now, if you engage more, if you do extra responses to classmates and things like that, and you'll see a little note about this in the prompts, if you do that type of extra work, then that can lead to you getting extra credit. 10 points for your academic library website evaluation discussion. That's going to be due on September the 21st. We will look at that assignment in a few minutes. Essay assignment number 1, that is the one that I was telling you will correspond with SLO number 2, student learning outcome number 2. That will be due on October 19th. Again, you get 15 points for attending synced sessions. There are 3 synced sessions, and you get 5 points for each one you attend. So when you attend all 3, you get all 15 points. And then 25 points for the case study final, which is actually, we will revisit this because I have finally, it had been for years my goal to change that assignment, but I couldn't think of what to change it to. And now with you all, there is a new assignment, and you all are the pilot population for that. But I think that the students hated the final in this class. They have hated the final that I originally had, and so I had to do something. And so now I think I have a good idea for a better final, but you all are going to help me truly determine that. All right, so again, 100 points total. A 93 or above will get you an A. An 84 or to a 92 will get you a B. A 74 to an 83 will get you a C. 73 or below will fail you. Okay. Graduate, we don't do D's in graduate school. I do want to say that you can get pluses or minuses depending on exceptional effort or exceptional lack of effort. So like, let's say that you got an A, but you got like a 99 or a 100, and all your work was superb. You went the extra mile. It showed that you weren't just trying to get a grade. You were really trying to put your best foot forward. If that is applicable to you, instead of an A, you'll probably get an A+. But by the same token, let's just say you were mailing it in. You were doing the bare minimum you could do to get an A. And you missed quite a few points along the way because of that, and you end up with a 93 or 94 for a final grade. You might actually get an A- in that case, because when you're that close to the B range, I don't want it to look like you did the same level of work as somebody who had like a 98. All right. So just know that those pluses and minuses can come into play. The academic libraries class is not very hard at all. I would say that typically almost everyone gets an A, and those who don't get A's get B's or B pluses. I think I've given 1 C in this class over the years because of somebody who didn't do half of their work but did enough just to pass. And then I don't believe I've ever failed anybody in this class. Okay, so you got that. Um, yeah, so all of that is there. We don't do pluses or minuses for F. There is no D. The textbook, John Budd, The Changing Academic Library, 3rd edition. Go ahead and pick up your copy of that. Copyright 2018. I do hope that Dr. Budd, and Dr. Budd is a former MU professor. He used to teach for Sissel, and that's part of the reason why I use his book, to be honest with you. But yeah, I do hope that he comes out with a 4th edition soon, because this is starting to get a little bit up there. But this is what we're working with for now. All right. Weekly routine. I am not a stickler for this. Theoretically, what I would like is for you to have your original post up by Wednesday, and then you can have your responses up by the deadline, which is Sunday at 11:59 p.m. However, what I'm going to say to that is I'm not a stickler for that. If you find yourself, there are going to be some of you who just, quite frankly, can't do your work until the weekend. I realize that. There are going to be a few of you who all of your posts are going to come on Saturday and Sunday, your original posts and your responses. But by that same token, there are going to be some of you who want to take the weekend off and do everything during the week. And the reason why I tell you all that I'm aware of this is because that's why, theoretically, I want at least 2 of you. It doesn't always work like this, but I want at least 2 of you to have your original post up by Wednesday night of each week, so that basically so that those people, like, let's say that I have 2 of you and only 2 of you who post up by Wednesday night. But still, that's enough. So if I have 2 of you who post up by Wednesday night and your schedules don't really allow you to do schoolwork from Thursday to Sunday, as long as one of your classmates has already put up their post, you can respond to their post, they can respond to your post, and then you're done with the discussion board if you want to be for that week. So I hope that makes sense. But again, I'm not going to go in there and mark anybody off who hasn't put up their original post by Friday. You technically do have until 11:59 p.m. and even a grace period beyond that, because I don't watch to see if you're a few hours late or anything like that. As long as you get it up before I go in there to start looking around the next Monday. So in other words, for things that are due that Sunday night, yes, it does say 11:59 p.m. and part of that is to keep things consistent and to reduce confusion. But as long as you have both posts up by that time or before I actually wake up and start looking around on Monday morning after that Sunday night, then you're going to be fine. I have never penalized anyone for, just being a few hours late. That's just not my thing. Please keep in mind that this is a 3-hour class. So that means that you should spend 3 hours per week in the classroom, but that's just being in the class. Reading and assignments are, of course, on top of that. This is graduate school and not a correspondence course. However, I do read all of the posts that you all put up, unless there's like a lot of responses. All the original posts I do read. Sometimes if there are a lot of responses going, I will be impressed, but I won't be actually looking at the responses. Okay. If there are a lot of them. If there are not a lot of them, then I'm looking at the responses as well and just seeing what you all are saying. So I'm not going to be able to respond to every original post, but I will respond to quite a bit of them, and I will also I will respond to quite a bit of them. Okay. But I read them all, even if I don't respond to them all. This is very important. Reading course announcements is mandatory. Even if the announcement has optional content in them, the text of the announcement is mandatory. And so what I mean by that is, let's say I just found an interesting article about academic libraries, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to share this with my students because it is interesting. And then I put the link to the article in the announcement. You do have to read the announcement, but if I say that this article is optional, you don't have to access and read that optional article. So I hope that makes sense. Again, if it doesn't, if you need clarification on something, let me know. But yes, you are required to read the text of the announcements, but you only have to access any links or anything that is, you only have to access any links if it says it is required for you to access it. If it says optional, then you don't have to. And then if it doesn't say required or optional, you can assume optional, or you can ask me for clarification. All right, about my participation, please know that I am in here a lot, and I will be hopefully responding to emails and Canvas messages within 72 hours. If you haven't heard from me within 72 hours, go ahead and email me again, because things do happen. Sometimes I mark things as read accidentally. Sometimes I delete things accidentally, whatever. Sometimes things can go to the spam folder. And also bombarding me with emails will slow down my response time. So just kind of think about that too. Okay. I mean, you're welcome to email me as much as you want. I love my students. You all are actually very important to me. But at the same time, I need breaks as well. So please don't, just send out a bunch of emails. Try to, if you can, try to consolidate things. Now, I do have a late work policy, but I am not a stickler for this policy. So let me tell you about the late work policy. All late work will have a 10%. I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna tell you a few things extra that I don't put in here. This is here for CYA, cover your behind. But all late work will have a 10% deduction per day that is late up to 5 days, and then it will not be accepted. You must contact me before you plan to turn it in late, unless you are in the hospital or in jail. And people laugh about the jail thing, but no, students get locked up, and when you get locked up, it's not possible for you to email or call your professor or things like that. So once you get out of jail, then you come tell me what happened. You don't have to tell me your charges, but tell me, hey, I was in jail, that's why I was late, can we work something out? And we'll do that. There is no makeup work for there's no makeup for discussions not turned in by the due date. Sync sessions are mandatory. Missing one means you miss the 5 points and can't make that up, except in this special case with the November 11th sync session. But again, please just attend that, guys. And now what I want to do is add some context to what I had been talking about there. So again, you all just heard me talking about the late work policy and what grace I will and will not grant. Here's something else that I want to say related to that, though. I am human, and I understand human things happen, and I am understanding if you talk to me. What you need to do, though, is talk to me, okay? So, let's say that, first of all, I do want you all to know that you are entitled to bereavement time with immediate family members anyway. I don't know the university policy. I just know that per some university policy, you are entitled to grievance time with the death of close family members. So if you lose a parent or a grandparent, if you lose a child, heaven forbid on that one, I hope none of you lose a child. But if you lose a child, or if you lose a sibling, you don't even have to ask. You just tell me, Dr. Jace, mom died, dad died, I'm going to need time away. Brother died, sister died, daughter died, son died. Just tell me. You don't have to ask, hey, Dr. Jace, can I get an extension because this happened? What you do in those cases is tell me, Dr. Jace, I need some grace because this happened, and I got you. Okay. But for me, I try to go beyond what is required by the university, because again, we're humans, and I don't want this class to be an impediment on your lives. So what I will also say is, when other things come up, just come to me. If somebody who is not an immediate family member dies, still come to me. A friend, come to me. A cousin, come to me and tell me if you need an extension, if you need a few days. A pet, even. Let's say you had a dog for 5 years and you've lived with that dog for 5 years. That has been your live-in best friend for 5 years. Okay? And if that dog dies after 5 years, you are going to need some time. So let's say that you have an assignment due on Sunday, but your dog dies on Thursday. Just tell me, hey, Dr. Jace, my dog just died. Can you just give me a few days of grace period beyond Sunday to turn that assignment in? I'm going to. Now, it also doesn't have to deal with death. It doesn't have to do with death. So there are other things that can be going on too. If you're sick and not feeling well, just keep me in the loop. Let me know what's going on, and that's cool. I'll probably give you extensions if you're sick, especially if you're hospitalized. If you're hospitalized, you're definitely getting an extension. But even it doesn't have to be that serious. And let me be careful about how I'm saying this, because I don't want to say anything offensive. But for instance, even if you are, even if there are things going on that you don't really want to talk to me about, but it's just going on. In the example, you probably already know what I'm getting at. So let's say, as an example, I'm not somebody who menstruates. And so I don't really know or understand what that's like. If you are going through it because of that, just say, you don't have to give me the details. If you want to, I'll listen, but you don't have to give me the details because that is personal. But you can say to me, Dr. Jace, it's just one of those days where I can't do it because it's so bad. I'm going to have grace for you, okay? If you are, and so certain other things that are causing you either physical distress or mental or emotional distress, just let me know. We're going to work through it, okay? And then it doesn't even have to be something bad. So let's say that you planned a family vacation back in July and the family vacation is on a date in September where you have something due. Just tell me, say, Dr. Jace, I need to go. I've already got this family vacation planned. I am going to suggest to you that perhaps maybe turn it in before you go, because you can kind of work at your own pace in this class. But if you're not able to do that still, I want you to enjoy your family. I want you to enjoy your life. If you get married and let's say you get married on Saturday and then an assignment is due on Sunday, but you've been preparing for the wedding and things like that, you can tell me. You can say, hey, Dr. Jace, I was hoping to not have to turn in this assignment during my wedding weekend. I was just hoping that my wedding weekend would be me and my spouse. By all means, I understand these things, folks, so just talk to me. And I won't grant an extension for everything, but there are a lot of things that I will. All right. Scrolling on down, readings, read. There are, for one thing, don't feel like you have to read with the expectation of being able to recall this information. Read, even if it means you're reading kind of quickly and you're skimming information, because there are going to be some weeks where there's a lot of reading. But read in order to gain the information and growth. You're not going to, even if you read with the goal of retention, you're not going to remember everything by the end of the semester anyway. But just focus on getting through your reading. I'm not going to go into that just for the sake of time. Incompletes, I'm not going to talk about this too much either. If we are in a situation where you're not going to be able to complete your work by the end of the course, then just let me know so that we can work out an incomplete for you. Okay. All right. Actually take a pause here, and then if you take a pause here, then we will go into modules. I know we're still in the syllabus, but I forgot. Not all of my classes have the modules in the syllabus, but I do for this one. So go ahead and pause. This is a perfect time to pause and take a break. And then when you come back, push play, and we will talk about the modules and what we'll be talking about from week to week. All right, my friends, so let's go ahead and hit this, what we'll be doing in the various modules. We will start out with Unit 1, our introductory readings, and these are going to be readings that just, again, lay the foundation. So you're going to have these things here. Week number 2, we are going to talk about the history of higher ed. Week number 3, organizational culture. So when we're talking, not the history of higher ed, I'm sorry, for week 2, it's the history of academic libraries in higher education. Excuse me, sorry for that. Week number 3, we'll talk about organizational culture. So organizational culture and academic libraries, leadership, and members of the organization, and how all of that plays together. So we've got some selected readings there, and then we will talk about governance. And governance, I just did a book chapter on governance in academic libraries that will be published either next year or in 2027. And yeah, governance is a thing. I will probably teach from my book chapter in the check-in video that week, since it was hard for me to put that book chapter together. I'm not going to lie to you. So because it hasn't been published yet, I can't share it in this class, but what I can do is just go over what I wrote in that chapter so that you get a better understanding there at least. Administration crash course, that will be, so you will have one specific reading there, and that's going to be the Academic Library Administrator's Field Guide. That is going to be a good introduction to all of the things, all of the concepts and stuff that you are going to encounter within academic libraries. It's a crash course. It really is just a crash course, but that's really all you need for the class. But this is a whole book that you're going to need to get through in a week. So again, don't read verbatim every word with the purpose of trying to remember everything. You know, read quickly, get that information, get your general ideas, and you will retain those general ideas, and that's what you need to do. Week number 6, organization and management of academic libraries. So that's kind of an extension of what we were talking about in the previous module there for week 5, but there are some things that we're going to get into and dive into a little more, including toxic leadership within academic libraries, which is a big problem. Okay, libraries and money. So we will be talking about the finances, budgets, allocation mechanisms, and things like that. Going down further, the system of scholarly communication. This can actually be pretty interesting for to some of you. Some of you may find this interesting, and if so, you might want to look into becoming a scholarly communications librarian. All right, and this is a really good piece here, the No Nonsense Guide to Research Support and Scholarly Communication. I really like that. But some of you may prefer, you have to read that chapter 7, and then you'll get a choice of reading this or that. Okay. Week number 9, now we're talking about collections and everything. So this corresponds a little bit with 7313, your collection development class. And you've got a listing of required readings there. Week number 10. Now we're talking about electronic information in libraries, the challenges of managing collections, purchasing, licensing, subscriptions, all of that. Because a lot of libraries, academic libraries, are shifting a lot of their holdings to, a lot of their collections and holdings to digital, and from there they're reallocating space within the library to do things such as create maker spaces and study spaces and all sorts of other things, all right? Week number 11, now we're talking about communities, libraries, and librarians, and then we're getting into the more community aspect of it. Service, the different needs of faculty and students. We'll be talking about addressing those things, building services to meet the needs of constituents, and things of that nature. All right, scroll on down. Week number 12, information literacy. All right, so we are going to talk about the ACRL information literacy framework. That is something that is a big deal. A lot of librarians take that very seriously. So you do need to be aware of the framework. And when we talk about the framework, we're not just going to talk about the framework, but we're going to get into, we're going to get into why it's important and things of that nature. So, okay. And then you'll have a supplementary thing here, which you may enjoy. This will be optional, but the 23 framework things, this really does help contextualize the framework. Unit number 13, a look ahead. We're just looking at the trends in future. Week number 14, standards and evaluation. So ACRL, which is the Association of College and Research Libraries, which is a division of the American Library Association. It's not a standalone organization. It's a division of the American Library Association. The ACRL does a lot of the stuff that's related to academic libraries. And then finally, week 15, safety and security. We are going to talk about some of those safety and security issues. I'm debating, I've always had that as the last unit, and it's going to be in this class, but I'm debating actually switching the weeks of 14 and 15 or something. That is, safety and security is important, and so I hate that it's the last module right as you're trying to do finals, but that's just the way that I've always had it because everything else is so, just important. Anyway, all right, so now there's some legalese that you're going to pretty much have in all of your, syllabi, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. Artificial intelligence, AI, please just don't even use AI. I don't think there's any reason for you to use it. Just don't. Just please. Learn how to do your own thing. Now, yeah, when you're incorporating AI in your library as part of your job, go for it. But right now, you can just use your own brain meat to identify and complete your work, identify problems and things and complete your work. Academic integrity, again, I don't want to make this too long. So what I'll say is you all understand what academic integrity is. Don't cheat, put forth your best effort, all those things. Course discussion and privacy. Please just keep what goes on in this class. Do not share this, don't screenshot stuff that your classmates say and share it outside of the class or anything like that. Don't try to embarrass or shame your classmates or do anything that violates their privacy. Basically, what I want is for this to be a mutually respectful learning environment where everybody, and I do mean all of you all feel safe in saying what you feel needs to be said, unless it's something that violates conduct codes or something like that, or something that's just totally inappropriate. But I want you all otherwise to feel like you have intellectual freedom, feel like you are safe to say this, that, and the other without your classmates exposing you outside of the class. And if you do that for them, they're going to do that for you, and then we can all have a positive growth experience through taking this class. Now, things are a little different for me as the instructor. I need to just hold myself accountable to the point where I shouldn't say things that might end up outside of the class and on the news. So if I say the wrong thing, you're not held to the same standard there. But yeah, FERPA protects students. It protects your educational records and things like that. This is basically a privacy law. I shouldn't say it's basically a privacy law, but it's very firmly rooted in privacy. And so I want to make sure that all of you, again, are protected. So just, again, as long as you keep things in the class, it's not likely that you are going to cause a FERPA violation. Intellectual pluralism, we all have diverse opinions, and that's what makes this great. Please be supportive of, and maybe even use being exposed to different opinions as a growth opportunity, right? That's what I would like you to do. Diversity of thought is something that I just think is beautiful, and I hope that you all can find it beautiful as well. Mental health. Please, please, please do not suffer in silence. First of all, if you have a crisis, please know that 988 is out there, the crisis hotline. Call that crisis hotline if you are about to, for lack of a better word, end yourself or end somebody else. We can't have that. But even if you are just having thoughts that you know are thoughts that can get you in trouble or get you hurt or get you to harm somebody else, please, 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 please reach out to 988. Get some mental help. Don't do anything that you're going to regret, and don't do anything that you won't live to regret. Okay? All right. Yeah. And you all, if you're having issues and you don't feel comfortable calling 988, I am not a trained therapist, but I have had to be there before. So if I'm the only person you got, and that might be the case for some of you, I would rather you talk to me and I just take chances with it than you, again, doing something to harm yourself. Okay. So let's just have respect for that there. Netiquette. Pretty much what you need to know there is, yeah, you all know that things can be interpreted differently online than they are face to face, especially since people don't have your tone and your facial cues and that sort of thing for additional context. So just be aware of what you're saying, but also I would ask that there just be some understanding and grace and just openness. So for instance, if you find yourself offended by something that a classmate said, one thing that I'm hoping you'll be open to in the classmate, and you want to express that, you are by all means encouraged to speak on your offense, by all means. But as you speak on the things that offend you, please also, excuse me. All right. And then when it comes to religious holidays and that sort of thing, yeah, if you are, let's say that, no, I am a Christian, but I'm a former Noahide. If you don't know what that is, look that up. And I'm also, you can Google it, and I'm also a former atheist. So I do understand the bias that these calendars have toward Christianity. If you are somebody who is not a Christian, you are an atheist, you are a Jew, you are a Muslim, you're a Hindu, whatever the case may be, I respect y'all's your holidays as well. And I do want to make accommodations for you as well. And the school requires me to, but I want to do it anyway. So, by all means, even if I know that there are no quote unquote atheist holidays, but let's say you are an atheist and you're like, well, Dr. Jace, it's not fair that I don't have a holiday. So can I just get a Festivus for the rest of us? I will be just fine with that. Name the day. No, don't take advantage of that. Don't come to me every week saying, hey, Jace, Dr. Jace, it's another one of those atheist holidays. Don't do that. But, again, I know that atheists and agnostics and free thinkers, that's a population of people that don't really have recognized holidays. And that kind of sucks. So by all means, if there is something that you observe, if you do seriously observe it, by all means, reach out to me and ask me to make an accommodation for you, and I will. And then when it comes to non-discrimination, when it comes to non-discrimination, I cannot and do not want to discriminate against you on the basis of race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, disability, veteran status, or any other status protected by applicable state or federal law. So I will not do anything such as denial of opportunities, unfair treatment, harassment, or violence against you because of any of those things. So, yes, if you feel like you've been discriminated against by me, please let me, if you want to be adults about it, I actually ask, please let me know, but you don't have to let me know. You are not, that needs to be clear. You are not required to let me know if you feel like you've been discriminated against by me. You can go straight to Title IX. To the Title IX office. But again, I am hoping that, or to the Office of Equity and those sorts of things. But again, I'm hoping that instead of just jumping to the authorities, what you might consider doing is reaching out to me, because it might be a misunderstanding. In fact, because I don't want to discriminate against you. So I would say it is probably a misunderstanding, but if we talk it out, maybe we can get somewhere ourselves. And then if you have a disability, please speak to the disabilities office, get yourself an accommodation plan, something that you can kind of work through those disabilities and struggles with. The accommodation plan that will give you concessions and accommodations within this class that I have to abide by, and I am more than happy to abide by those things. So, but again, get an accommodation plan. The Office of Disabilities will communicate the the accommodation plan to me, and I will abide by it accordingly and happily. And from there, we will all be successful, which is what I want. And then I'm not going to spend too much time on the COVID-19 thing because we don't meet in person in this class. So COVID-19 is pretty much a non-factor in this class. All right, so that is both the modules and the syllabus. Let's go ahead and talk about the assignments. We are probably looking at another 25 minutes. So this is going to go slightly over an hour, but not too much. And again, I hope you sped it up. Oh, and by the way, now is a good time to take a break. All right, so I'm going to talk about our main 3 assignments. The first that are not discussion board prompts. Our first assignment is review of an academic library website, which is going to be due on September the 21st. You all have already been assigned academic library websites. However, if you do want to switch and do a different one from the one you were assigned, contact me and let me know, and we will make something happen. Because quite frankly, I actually would. After I did this, I decided I probably would want one of you, if you're willing to, one of you to do the Juilliard School Library in particular, if you're willing. So if somebody is willing to switch from what they've already been assigned to the Juilliard School, by all means, let me know. But yes, you're going to basically review a library website, academic library website, tell us what you thought the website does right or wrong, those sorts of things. And you're going to do it as a discussion board prompt so that you can review each other's work. And hopefully what you're going to gain out of this is sort of seeing how academic library websites can vary by the type of institution. So if you've got a heavy duty ARL is the Association of Research Libraries, by the way, and that is an entity to kind of be familiar with if you're taking an academic libraries class. So let's say you're at an ARL library, and those are all the top-notch libraries, your Ivy League libraries, your Chapel Hills, your Duke Universities, your Mizzous, your KUs, your things of that nature. Washington University, St. Louis, that is another ARL library. So if you are at an ARL library, you're probably going to have a much different library website from somebody at a community college library and things of that nature. And then HBCU library websites might look a certain way, and for-profit colleges might look a certain way. And so hopefully you're gleaning a little bit of difference in the way the library websites are presented based on the library type that you're dealing with, okay? That's going to be worth 10 points. And again, that's going to be due on September the 21st. You do have an assignment due in October, and that is going to be your essay assignment number 1. It's basically a little case study here you're going to write a 1,000-word paper that addresses this prompt here, and this prompt talks about basically a complex challenge that's that you're going to pretend that you're in admin, and um, you're going to have to do a little cost cutting, but you're going to explain yourself. And again, based on the reading that you do, you should get a pretty good idea of basically how to execute this paper. Okay. It's not the most fun assignment, but it does help me see where your mind is as far as allocation of resources and library leadership and things of that nature. Okay. Now, the new assignment is going to be here. And again, and I want to talk about this for quite a bit because you all, as I said earlier, are a pilot population. But I used to have a final that was very similar to that case study paper that I just was talking about, where you are looking at allocation of resources and things like that. But now I'm trying to do something different. So job comparison final assignment. This is brand new. You all are the first who are getting this here in fall 2025. And you are the pilot population. So we're just going to see how this works. So I'm actually going to read this prompt to you all because of where we are. I know you can read yourselves, but here we go. I hope you sped this up. It's not enough to just know that you want to work in academic libraries to maximize your happiness. You also need to be aware of what type of academic library you want to work at. Do you just want to work your shift and go home? If that's the case, like let's say you just want to do your 8 hours and go home. In that case, you might want to be at a community college or a small college library or something like that, where you don't have those obligations to publish, present, and those sorts of things. You just do your work and you go home like it's a normal job. Do you want to be one of these quote unquote rock star librarians, somebody who is just well known across the country? You go to ACRL and you go to ALA, and you just have these really, really, really great presentations that everyone comes to see. And you also have these really, really great publications, journal articles, book chapters that you produce, and they're frequently cited and things of that nature. And because of all that, you are a serious, respected library scholar. If that's who you see yourself as, you might want to go to an ARL institution or some other type of R1. Okay, and you definitely want to stick with R1s in that case. And then you're probably going to get a tenure track job there, and your tenure track job, the stuff you do to get tenure, will probably need to be actual research. Or you can be somewhere in the middle, and maybe you want a tenure track job, but maybe your tenure case wouldn't depend on contributions to the most selective journals. Maybe your tenure case would just depend on, yes, did you do your work for your library? And even I've seen libraries, including Coastal Carolina, which isn't a research institution, it's a comprehensive teaching institution. Coastal Carolina the librarians there are tenure track, but they can put internal documents on their tenure files. So like, for instance, I was on tenure track there, and while I was on tenure track there, they were telling me, yeah, if you develop a set of instructions, for instance, on how to use a particular resource as an internal document, that can go on your tenure file here. That wouldn't be the case if you were at an R1 or at an ARL institution, okay? So, what I want you to do is, with all of this information, with the things that I've told you right now, I want you to find 3 either position descriptions or job vacancy descriptions. And a lot of times you can just write the library, like email the library and ask them for their their position description for a particular position, okay? So like, let's say that you want to be a cataloger in an academic library. And for this assignment, you need to be comparing 3 job vacancies or 3 position descriptions of the same general type of job. So let's say that you get you find a position description for a cataloger at a community college, and then you find a position description for a cataloger at Yale, which is ARL all the way. And then you also find a position description for a cataloger at, how about Truman State? Truman State is a respectable institution by all means, but it's not rising to the level of an ARL, of a Mizzou, of a Washington St. Louis. That's not me being a snob. Truman State is a fine institution, but it's not a community college, but it's also not one of these upper tier research institutions. Okay. If you find yourself in, so yeah, let's say that you get those 3 position descriptions. What you're going to do in this assignment basically is compare and contrast. That's pretty much it. And you'll see in the rubric prongs how I'm looking at the compare and the contrast. How are they similar? How are they different? And then your ranking and reflection on which you would want to work at most to least. And then also use of English language. So if you read the prompt, hopefully it will be crystal clear what I'm looking for. But if not, then reach back out to me and say, Dr. Jace, I still don't get it. But I'm piloting this this semester, and then how you all perform and the feedback you give me both on both in my teaching evaluations and if you just email me to say something about it. Yeah, for those things. Yeah. So it's basically a compare and contrast, and then let me know what works best for you. And I do think that you all will, at the very least, enjoy this more than the old assignment that I used to have. And I also think this will be helpful for you. It will be self-discovery. So you won't leave here and think that you won't leave here and then go to Yale, get a job at Yale, and then be like, yo, I didn't know I was going to have to do so much work off the clock. Yeah, if you go to Yale, you're going to be doing a lot of work off the clock, buddy. So, these are the things I want you all to kind of be aware of. And I do feel that doing this assignment will give you a better feel of where you fit in with academic libraries. Okay. All right. And we will talk about these things more as the class goes on. Now from here, take a break real quick. All right. And now I hope you have resumed. Push start again. We will take another 10 minutes for me to tell you just a little bit about me. So some things that I want you all to know about me. Again, my name is Dr. Jace Austin, Jace K. Austin, Jason Austin. There are a multitude of things that I will answer to, but most students just call me Dr. Jace. I am originally from Soul City, North Carolina. And that is a real place. Google it. You will see Soul City, North Carolina, founded by civil rights leader Floyd McKissick. I spent my teenage years in the Richmond, Virginia area, graduating from Meadowbrook High School right outside of Richmond, Virginia in 2001. I do have a BA in English from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, class of 2005. My degree in library science is from North Carolina Central, class of 2008. North Carolina Central University, by the way, is the only historically Black college in the country with an accredited library science program. And then I earned my PhD in 2017 from the University of South Carolina. I've had varying types of academic library jobs, and that is why I am best suited to teach this class. So I've worked at an R1, University of North Carolina at Greensboro is an R1 actually, and that was my first professional librarian job from 2008 to 2010. So I have experience with a R1. I have experience with a comprehensive teaching institution. That would be Coastal Carolina University, where I was a business librarian. I've also got experience at a community college at the Midlands Technical College in Columbia, South Carolina. And then I do have also experience as a practicing librarian at UMKC in Kansas City. So I have I do also have public library experience too, as I spent a year and a half as an adult services librarian for Forsyth County Public Library in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And that was an inner city library too, with inner city issues. And so, I have a gambit of experiences, and that is why I feel I'm, well, not just me, the department felt that I was the one to be best suited to teach this class, and I agree, and I'm glad to teach this class. I enjoy teaching this class. Again, I don't have to assess anything in this class. It's more informational, but I love just, sharing some information, some tips, tricks, whatever, with you all so that you get an idea of what's ahead of you in academic libraries, okay? The last thing that I really want to mention tonight is that, and this will probably be obvious by looking at me, I am black, okay? And there is a reason why I am saying that. I tell every class this every semester, so don't feel like you're being singled out or anything like that. But here's the thing. Again, I'm a black man from the rural South. When I first started teaching, that was actually at the University of South Carolina, because while I was working on my PhD, I was also teaching classes. So University of South Carolina, most of my students were from South Carolina or other places in the South. And so my persona as a rural Southern black man, people were used to that in South Carolina. You know, North and South Carolina do have their differences, but they got their similarities too. And the me that grew up in North Carolina was able to be successful in South Carolina. And my teaching evaluations were good when I was working at the University of South Carolina. My students and I got along very well. I come here to Missouri in 2018, start teaching for the University of Missouri, start teaching out here in the Midwest. And in the Midwest, I've seen many, many times where even in grad school, I'm the first black professor I'm the first black teacher or the first black male teacher that a lot of my students have ever had. And the first year and a half or 2 years that I was here in Missouri, my teaching evaluations, they were just awful. People were calling me abrasive and aggressive and defensive. They were saying they didn't feel comfortable reaching out to me. They felt like they were bothering me by reaching out and things of that nature. And I was like, where is all of this coming from? At first, my first semester here, I was just really, really sad by all of it. But then I experienced some racist incidents here in Missouri. And then I realized, hey, this state is very different, especially when you go out to rural areas. I'm used to North and South Carolina, where when you go out to rural areas, there are still a lot of black people because of the plantation culture and things like that. I actually grew up in the same county, Warren County, North Carolina, where my ancestors were enslaved. I say that to say that, yeah, you don't really have that in the Midwest. In the Midwest, there's not that much diversity usually outside of the urban areas. So Missouri is actually a pretty good example. Yes, you have plenty of non-white people in Kansas City, in St. Louis, in Springfield. And I know that there are black populations, long-standing black populations, even in some of the smaller towns in Missouri, like Hannibal has a long-standing black population, but it's very small. Same with Mexico, Missouri, and a few other places, Sedalia. But having said that, you know, a lot of times when you're outside of the metros, it's actually pretty white here in Missouri. And that's not a bad thing, but what I'm going to say is because people weren't used to black people, they weren't used to my delivery, and it took me actually having to change my persona before I actually started having positive teaching evaluations here. My teaching evaluations here are fine now, but that's because I have adjusted to the Midwestern culture. And so basically what I'm asking is that you all meet me halfway, okay? I don't have the same ruggedness toward in my approach and in my tone that I used to have when I was when I first got here, because I realized that black people can't communicate in the Midwest the same way we have to communicate in the rural South in order to keep ourselves protected and that sort of thing. But I'm okay with that. I am willing to switch up my approach, and the reason I'm willing to switch up my approach is very simple. I am I'm somebody who also believes that to an extent you should respect where you're going, because where you move to, because that's something that people don't do when they're in the South. For those of you who don't know, North Carolina is one of the faster growing states in the nation and has been for decades. People don't realize that North Carolina by population is actually the 10th largest state. Like, people think that no one lives in North Carolina, like we're down in the bottom half, but no, we are a top 10 state in population. North Carolina is. We are number 10, but that's still top 10. But we have a lot of people who moved to North Carolina from New York, from New Jersey, from the Northeast, and they come to North Carolina and they start talking bad about the people who are from here. They say that we're slow and we're not very intelligent and we're, troglodytes and we date our cousins and whatever the case may be. And so that has always kind of annoyed me because it's kind of like, hey, well, if it's so bad, just go home. You know what I'm saying? We love it here in North Carolina, so respect the culture that we've created here. And so I have to look at the Midwest the same way, to be quite honest with you. So when I come down here to the Midwest, when I come out here to the Midwest, yeah, I have thoughts and feelings on the Midwestern culture. I do. But at the end of the day, I'm here. I am here. And so I'm going to respect the space that I've come into. So meet me halfway, though. So I have softened my approach, but with me softening my approach, I'm also hoping that if you find yourself thinking that I'm abrasive or aggressive or something like that, I would love for you to reflect on it and make sure it's really me and not just some sort of bias coming out. Okay. Now everybody has bias. So if you do find that there's some bias going on, don't beat yourself up about it. That's the growth opportunity. Just grow. That's all you got to do is just grow. And I know that growth doesn't happen overnight. And, I'm here to be patient with you. But one thing that I want you to realize is that if you grew up, like, let's say you grew up in Joplin, and when I went to Joplin, I was like stared down, like people were acting like they hadn't seen a black person before. And like, I'm in a restaurant just trying to get some food and leave. And I am being eagle-eyed by these other people in Joplin, and they're like, "Hey, what is this black person doing here?" But having said that, if you come from a place that is nearly entirely white, like Joplin, first of all, there's no shame in that. Again, there is no shame in that. That's a great thing. It's a great thing. But if that's where you come from, you may, like, let's say you grew up in Joplin, but you settle in Kansas City and you start working for Kansas City Public Library. I assure you that you are going to have to learn how to communicate with black people if you start working at Kansas City Public Library, and you may not have had too many experiences where you had to do that down in Joplin. So use this as a growth opportunity. If you find differences in the way that I speak or come across, just kind of reflect on that, realize that it might be part of my culture, and know that that might be something you experience if you go to a different part of the country. And again, just a lot of this is just being aware and understanding that people are different, and that you can still it actually helps us grow and heal, I believe, when we, instead of pretending that differences aren't there, we observe and notice the differences, but we respect the differences, and we realize that different doesn't mean bad. Okay. So yeah, I put all that out there, and I say that, I have biases that I have to deal with as well. And every day I have to choose to be better. Like, every day I have to overcome the biases that I have. All right. So I just want that to be out there, but we are going to have I am determined to have a successful semester with you all. We're going to do it. We are going to do it, and we're going to be okay. So with that said, I've taken enough of your time. Thankfully, this actually really wasn't as long as I was expecting it to be, because I was thinking it would be closer to a hour and a half. So let's not look that gift horse in the mouth. Let's go ahead and give you the rest of your time back. I am Dr. Jace, and you have now begun this academic libraries race, and you're going to do just fine. I look forward to coming back with another check-in video next week. Until then, try to enjoy the content of this week, and yeah, I'm a message away if you need me.